Liam is a hard fella. Is that how you define your boxing style? You're just a hard bloke.
I've always been a rough kid, wanted to fight.
What's the advice you give people as a boxer, but also just young entrepreneurs, winners? How do you bounce back from a loss?
You've got to identify where your mistakes are. If you still have that ambition and drive to keep going, then why not? If anybody tells you they're not interested in the money and they want to win belts and legacy, but they don't want any of it, give me the money. And any fighter who tells you different is telling a bit of lies. Everybody wants to leave a legacy and become world champion, don't get me wrong. No one more than me. But belts and legacy don't pay bills and buy you a nice house and a nice car. You know, that's what we're in it for. We wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't a lot of money involved.
The world of boxing. My next podcast guest is a professional current fighter, Liam Williams. From Wales, we speak about his time with Dominic Ingle, Adam Booth, competing against Eubank Jr, Smith, and so on. Be happy, never content, and enjoy this particular episode. Before we start this week's podcast, I have to give a special mention to our sponsors. iSecure Vehicles. They are a brilliant company, a family-run business, and they specialise in vehicle safety and security throughout the UK. I know this company very well, and I also know the people behind the brand. If you've been following me on my podcast journey and on social media, you will know that I love cars and so does my network. This is why I'm very, very excited to be working with iSecure Vehicles, and this is why we have chosen them to be our sponsors for the Steven Sulley Study podcast. Their team are professionals, experts, and they're efficient. Once their product is installed on your car, your vehicles, you will have the peace of mind that your asset is protected. Trust me, do not wait until it's too late. Get protection now. For more information about their products, including dash cameras, undetected immobilizers, and also car tracking systems, head over to isecure-vehicles.co.uk and remember to mention the Steven Sulley Study podcast sent you. Right, welcome back to the podcast, Steven Sulley Study. We've got a wicked guest over Zoom today, Mr. Liam Williams. Thank you very much for agreeing to come into the podcast, mate. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you.
No problem at all, mate. It's my pleasure.
Right, I'm going to tell you something that you won't know, but this is the thing that stands out every time I think about your name. I do a bit of boxing myself, not professional, but down boxing booth, and that's the club I go down. Had a few bouts myself. And more importantly, I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. It's my number one sort of sport. And when I saw that you went from Dominic Ingle over to Adam Booth, I said to my friend, who was my personal trainer, Charlie B, I said, what's he like? You know, because I've seen him on TV, I've seen his fights. Because I always ask about Harlem Eubank, I ask about Shannon Courtney, I ask about Josh Kelly. What's their styles like? You know, how are they when they train? What's their personalities like? And I remember what he said to me. He just said this one statement: Liam is a hard fella.
Yeah.
Is that how it defines you, Liam? Like, are you? Is that how you define your boxing style? You're just a hard bloke.
Yeah, you know, it's by the way, just before I start, Charlie is a unbelievable guy. What a man. A lot of respect for Charlie. Yeah, just a really good fella. Really good guy. Yeah, you know, I'd like to class myself as a tough man, you know. Obviously I've been in the game quite a long time. I've been boxing for 20 years, 21 years, even since I was 9 years old. And you know, I've been around a bit. I'm experienced. I like having a fight. So he's probably not too far wrong, to be honest with
you. I listened to a few other interviews you've done, Liam, and I didn't realise this, but you was actually a roofer before you got into the boxing world. Is that right?
I was, mate. Yeah, my man's a roofer, and I worked with him. I got thrown out of school when I was about I don't know, 15, 14, 15 or something like that. So as soon as I was like 16, as soon as I finished school, like, officially the age to finish school, I started working with my man straight away. So, I worked until I was about 19, 20, maybe like 20, 4 years. And then, well, here we are. We're 11 years on again, and I haven't worked since I was 20. So grateful and very lucky to do what I do.
Yeah, because being on the tools, being a roofer, especially out in the elements, and probably in Wales, where the weather can be a little bit unpredictable sometimes. All of those kind of things must have factored into some of your personality traits, and then kind of helped you out in the ring. It must make you a tougher person being on the tools as a roofer.
Yes, it's a hard job, really, really physical. It's a hard graft every day when you're roofing, and you're bumping tiles up the roof, slates. Everything's heavy work, and it's hard going. But I just think I've always been like built this kind of way since I was a young kid. I've always been a rough kid, like wanted to fight, and I've always been game. So I think it's probably played a part, but I just think I think that's always been in me, and I think I was meant for it.
Yeah. I was going to say this last part actually, and I'm glad you raised your personality as a young kid. You mentioned in previous sort of interviews as well that occasionally when you were younger had a bit of a short temper. Is that quite accurate?
Yeah, and it hasn't changed very much either, to be honest with you.
I mean, look, that kind of short temper, anger, aggression, the will to win. It obviously it can be a bit of a hindrance in certain scenarios, probably. But in other times, when you need to bite down on your gum shield and win and fight someone rather than box someone, that must have served you a couple of times as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's always good to have to be like in general as a boxer. The best thing is to be calm and be able to think your way through things and make wise decisions. Then let's say. But yeah, as you said, basically, it's always good to have that in the locker. Really, when you really have to dig deep and you're in a tough fight. But in most situations, in terms of boxing, most situations I keep calm. But just in general, to be honest with you, I'm a bit of a fiery character. Don't take much to get me going,
Fair enough. So look, last weekend was a really good weekend of boxing, and there was your two former opponents, Liam Smith and Chris Eubank. Okay, so the Liam Smith fight and Chris Eubank too. What was your take on it? Obviously, we know the outcome. What was your thoughts and feelings towards that fight, Liam?
To be honest with you, I thought Eubank would come in more fired up than he was the first time, which he did, and that was the little thing which worried me a little bit for Smith, was the fact that nobody thought he was going to stop him last time, and he went out and he did like dramatically. But I was a bit worried that would maybe make him take his eye off the ball a little bit, maybe, and think that he can do that again. But he probably did work hard and he probably grafted, but apparently he had a couple of injuries which led him to not being able to run and stuff. And I'm guessing you've seen that he had to lose 42 pounds in the matter of a couple of weeks or whatever, which is 3 stone. So I've lost a lot of weight in the past for certain fights, and I know how that affects you, and I've never lost quite that much. So he was obviously affected even more the more I've experienced myself.
Yeah, sharing a ring with both of these guys. Then, I mean, first-hand experience. Who would you say is like the real skillful operator out of the two?
I would say Liam Smith. I picked Liam Smith to win the first time when nobody gave him much chance. I don't get me wrong. I didn't think he was going to go and stop him, which is, very, very good outcome for Smith. But I thought he would just maybe grind him down and outwork him over the 12, And even then, although Eubank's a little bit more flashy than Smith, and Smith appears to be like, just come forward, hands high, kind of, he seems to be that just a hard to fighter, and he is a hard fighter, but until you're in there with him, you don't appreciate how technically sound he is. He's had a good amateur background, and he does everything very well. He got it all. He got the basics nailed down.
Yeah. So obviously Liam Smith lost that fight over the weekend, and unfortunately got stopped, which is a complete reverse to the first fight. There's obviously talks about his age. I think he's 35 years of age now, and typically boxers in his weight category don't really go that beyond that particular age. But there's no denying that he's still got a lot to give to the sport. Do you think Liam Smith, at 35 years of age and just being stopped by Chris Eubank Jr., do you think he should consider retirement?
Well, it all depends on the individual, doesn't it? But, how does he feel? If he's still enjoying what he's doing and he still feels he can perform. I don't see... after the great win he had against Eubank the first time, in that short space of time, I don't see how he can just crash and burn and he's done, If he was carrying the injuries that I said he was, and he lost that amount of weight, then there's your answers. They are the problems. If they're truthful, then I still believe he's got a lot to give, 100%. But obviously, only he knows how he's feeling, and back to what I said just now. If you lose that amount of weight in a short space of time and you have injuries, you can't run properly, you're not going to perform. And it doesn't take a scientist to work that out, does it? It's straightforward.
Yeah. I want to ask you something now. I know you've probably been asked on camera and off camera a few times, but I was always intrigued by it. It was more about the culture and also about the dynamics at the time. And what I'm referring to is when you were building up to fight Chris Eubank Jr., you was clearly in boxing under Adam Booth, boxing Booth. And in that camp is Harlem Eubank. What was kind of the culture like there? Because obviously in one breath he's a part of your stable, but in the next breath he's a family member to Chris Eubank. Was that a bit weird, or did you kind of just deal with it in easy fashion?
Yeah, it all went quite smoothly, to be honest with you. I class Harlem as a friend. I think he's an amazing guy. He's, really top guy. But at the end of the day, blood's thicker than water, and he's always going to have Chris's back. And I don't hold that against him. It's one of those things where you can be as good of a friend to me as you want, but my family comes before you. It's as simple as that. So in terms of training in the gym and stuff, we trained sometimes at the same time, but it would just be kind of straightforward circuits, bag work, like that kind of thing. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty of like tactics and pad work with the game plan, then and sparring, we had separate times.
Okay.
Which was the case quite often, really, because even when I was sparring, a lot of the other boys weren't in the gym. It's just a case of if Adam's giving me my time whilst I'm sparring, he can't pay much attention to the other boy. So a lot of the time we had different things going on, you know.
Guys, I wanted to hop on here to once again thank the sponsors of this week's podcast, iSecure Vehicles. When we were searching around for sponsors for the channel, we honestly wanted to get a brand, a company that will give massive amount of value to our audience, and that is definitely iSecure Vehicles. They have a wide range of products which are designed to keep your vehicle, your asset, safe and secure. Some of those products are dash cameras, undetected immobilizers, and car tracking systems. Head over to iSecure to look at their products and make sure you say that the Steven Sulley Study podcast sent you there. Can I ask as well, it looked like you had a lot of success with Dominic Ingle at Sheffield. A friend of mine, Bradley Skeet, when he came back, I used to sponsor Bradley Skeet as a professional for a little while. And I remember speaking to Brad and him going up there and sparring you. And I think Kel Brook was there at the time. And it seemed like a really, really kind of good camp to be in.
Yeah.
And it looked like
it was a thriving gym.
Yeah. And it just seemed a bit odd to an outsider, to a bit of a fan, me, that you would leave that and then go down to boxing booth to Adam Booth. Now, I understand as well, Adam Booth is a phenomenal trainer. He's taken a lot of people to become world champions. Not George Groves, but he was helping George Groves. Obviously, David Hay and there's a mixture of other people back in the day. Why did you leave Dominic Ingle and go to Adam Booth?
Well, to be honest, when I first went to Dominic, when I first went to Ingle Gym, Sheffield, it was always a thought, would I go with him, or Adam was there, you know, even when I went to Dom, like thinking, should I go to Adam? But I jumped the gun. This is not that I jumped the gun, because I went to Dominic and we had fantastic success together. But it was all, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it was out of them two. But I did jump the gun a little bit in a way, in terms of, I went to Dominic, I really enjoyed it there, and I didn't even attempt to go with Adam or speak to him, or, you know, because I thought, fuck it, I'm happy, and, you know, I'll stay here. But when I was there for the first couple of years, I think I was there for I don't even know how long I was there, 3 years, 3 to 4 years maybe. It was fantastic. It was good. All the boys were there. You had Billy Joe, Kelbrook, Kid Gallard, obviously Bradley Skeet, Willie Hutchinson, Eve Ngabu. I hope I'm not missing too many people, but the gym was buzzing. Even back then, like Lee Wood, Atif, Shafiq, Jordan Gill, even when I first went there, all them lot were there as well. And yeah, as I said, it was just buzzing. Everybody's pushing each other, but over time things slowly changed, and I just didn't feel that buzz was there anymore. And I can say this because I told Dominic straight anyway. I said, like, I feel like you ain't what you was in terms of a trainer. Like, before, you used to give us a set times, you'd be in doing pads, you'd be watching us do runs, you'd be pushing us, like, you know, all that kind of stuff. And over time that faded away, and he had more interest in other things. And I just didn't want a trainer who I was going to get. I didn't want a trainer who was going to get that kind of I've gone blank. My mind's gone blank. Mm-hmm. I wanted more attention from a trainer. You know, I don't want to. I'll go in the gym and do 6 on the bag, and I'll meet you there for 20 minutes to do some pads afterwards. Like, nah, that's, you know, I'm not running him down, by the way, because he's a good coach. But towards the end, I feel like his interests were elsewhere, you know.
Yeah, and so how would you compare him to someone like an Adam Booth then? What is the major kind of characteristics and differences between them both?
They're very, very different people, you know, on a personal level. Also, I wouldn't say complete opposite, but they're very different in terms of the way of training as well. Dominic always used to be very much fitness and conditioning based. Don't get me wrong, he done the pads and he done some technical things, but Adam Booth is very like laid back. To Adam, you need to be fit before you. This is Adam saying, yeah. You might hear it, you might see it. Weight and fitness ain't my business, right? And that's what he says. But and he's quite within his right to say that, because as a boxing coach, fitness is kind of responsibility to get the fighter fit, but he's there as a boxing coach. You can go and do your own runs, you can do your own strength stuff. Is that's not really a boxing coach's job. So but yeah, going back to Adam's type of training, he was a very much slow and steady and just getting perfecting things. Everything was, he wanted it technically right and exactly how he thought it should have been done. So he was very good in his own way as well.
You mentioned in another conversation the difference between a trainer and a coach. What is the big difference between a trainer and a coach, Liam?
So I don't want to disrespect anybody. Like, no, I'm not even being disrespectful, but see, when I was with Dom Ingle, he was a trainer. I used to go in his gym. We'd have a bit of a laugh and whatnot. He was a good guy. But we'd go in, we get our training done, and off you go. I'll see you tomorrow. So that's a trainer. And then for me, I think Gary, my current coach, Gary Lockett, he's a coach. So he'll take a little bit more time to like perfect certain shots, and he'll be like, showing you, what I'm saying, just explaining things a little bit more deeper. So he'll even watch me on the bag and say like, no, you need to be, say for example, you need to throw a shot, you need to roll, come out of that roll with some more shots, or he wouldn't just leave you to it. He'd be guiding you then. And also, like after training with Gary, me and him will sit down and have a chat about, what's to come, what kind of things we can benefit on, what not benefit, improve. I just got more of a friendly bond with Gary. We close, so I feel like as a coach, it's more than just boxing. It's things outside of, if you're getting problems going on, if you're getting troubles. I speak to Gary about everything. Gary knows every piece of my personal life, as well as, obviously within boxing.
Yeah. So like a trainer is there to go through the process of just the training, but with a coach, they become a bit more of a lifestyle individual and a bit of a mentor, mentally and also physically.
Yeah, exactly, as you said, a mentor, mate. So like with a lot of trainers, they get your work done.
Yeah.
You fight, you pay them their money, and see you next camp. Let me know when your next fight is, type of thing,
Yeah. Just want to ask you just a couple of things about your fights and stuff, and then I'll be out your hair, Liam. I know you've probably got a few things on today, mate.
Oh, mate, I'm tired. I got I've been for a haircut. See my little girl off to school. And I got to go to the gym straight after this then, so.
All right, cool. I won't take too much of your time. So, look, I know when you've obviously had 28 fights, 23 wins, and only a few losses here. Again, being a bit of a fan of yours and also Chris Eubank, I was really excited by that fight. And it did appear that you were slightly flat. That tough, hard man that Charlie spoke about. But when you got into that fight with Chris, and I've listened to other interviews that you've given your take on it, Liam. It just seemed like you didn't have that kind of spark. What do you think went wrong in that particular fight?
Well, I know exactly what was wrong, but I got to watch what I'm saying. So basically, like we going back to Smith, we was talking about Smith, and it's not. I don't want to make excuses for myself because it is what it is. On the night, the better man won. Fair play to him. But I lost a bit too much weight. I done the weight wrong. Didn't really have it too much go on me. And also I had a I don't know if you want to cut the, you're gonna have to have a look at this, yeah? You have to think about it. I'll chat about it afterwards. But so basically, I lost a lot of weight. I felt a bit drained, and about a matter of weeks before the fight, I had an elbow to the head in sparring, and I had concussion. Like I drove.
I heard this on another podcast. To be honest, you said this, yeah.
Yeah, I had concussion, and basically I drove home from camp. I got home. I got outside the house, and I'm thinking, how the fuck have I just got home? Like I couldn't remember any of the journey. All I remember is going into a petrol garage. I was thirsty and I was looking for a bottle of water, and you know, I kept feeling proper weird. Like I was like looking around all like paranoid and thinking everybody's going to be looking at me. I went in there, I couldn't find the water, and I just fucked off again straight back to the car and drove home. And I was speaking to somebody, and I said, I can't remember what I said. I said thank you to somebody for something, and they said, "What are you saying thanks for?" And then I'm like, and then obviously it clicks to me, what the fuck am I talking about? Anyway, top and bottom of it, I was done, and I just didn't recover from it. And you know that's nobody else's fault but myself. I chose to fight. I definitely shouldn't have, and it was dangerous, to be honest with
you. Because it explains why, even though a punch in the face is a punch in the face, it was mostly the jabs, and they were knocking you down, and it was almost like, how is this like tough bloke being knocked down by a jab?
Yeah, exactly. You've seen me in different fights. You've seen me in different fights. I take a step short, and I always keep walking forward. I don't really go down. I don't really go down. But I did 2 or 3. How many times? 3 times that?
I think 3 times, yeah.
I think, I'm not sure if it was 4, but one was the slip, and he counted me anyway. But either way, I went down a few times in the fight, and even when I was going down, I was on the deck, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I'm not even hurt, but I was just a bit scrambled. And it was just a weird feeling, to be honest with you, because even after the fight, I was sat in my hotel room, and I was like, I'm still not right here from what happened the other day. I was there, and I was just confused, and like I couldn't really gather my thoughts then, if that makes sense.
So as a fighter, Liam, what's the advice you give people as a boxer, but also just young entrepreneurs, winners? How do you bounce back from a loss?
You just got to take it on the chin. You got to identify where your mistakes are, and you got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
You can't let a loss get you down too much. At the end of the day, if you still have that ambition and drive to keep going, then why not? But just bounce back, work hard, and get on with it.
Yeah, nice bit of advice there. And a couple of last questions. What's your view on this almost like hybrid boxing now? It's Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou. What's your take on that particular fight?
It's a big fight that a lot of people are watching me interested in. But the majority of the interest of that fight will come from non-fighting fans, because they just hear Tyson Fury, the greatest boxer, Francis Ngannou, the hardest hitting UFC champion, fucking absolute, killer, destroys people. They'll see that and they'll think, wow, this is going to be a special fight. But in reality, I don't think it is. I think it's going to be a total pile of shit. And I think Fury's just going to box the head of him. And the top and bottom of it is, I don't think it should be happening, because it's a pile of crap.
Frank Warren's defended it a few times, even though he kind of ridiculed Eddie Hearn for doing something in Saudi, and now it's happening over there. Who do you actually think is the better promoter out of the two, Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren?
Well, you're going to have to say Eddie Hearn, because, come on, like, he's doing big things, isn't he? Well, bigger things than Frank Warren right now. So, it's there in black and white. Not black and white, but, you can't, not see what somebody is. You can't unsee what somebody's doing. And as I said, Eddie Hearn's doing big things, big shows, massive fights, and he's killing it at the moment. So, fair play, and he's definitely the better one at the moment, I would say.
Yeah. What's next for you then, Liam? I seen you're in the gym, you're training. You kind of alluded that there was going to be some sort of announcement soon. What's next for you?
Well, there's a lot of talk, obviously, surrounding this Aaron McKenna fight. There has been for some time now. They offered me a date back in whatever it was, back the other day. They offered me a date. It was a little bit short notice. I could have made the fight. It would have been like 5 weeks or whatever. But I was going on holidays. I would have cancelled the holiday. But it's not just me. Gary was going on holidays as well with his family and further family, like his sister and niece, nephews and all that. It would have just been a lot to do, and people would have had to sacrifice a lot to make the fight happen, with the short notice, with the weight to lose, with, and basically I wasn't going to just fold to their, not demands, but I wasn't going to, they say jump, I'm not going to say how high, and fold to everything they want. I've got my own life as well, I've got my own shit to do.
Yeah.
So, they said they're going to come back with a new date. They said it was going to be last night, and I can confirm that they haven't. So, I don't know. I'm still hopeful. I'm very hopeful. I think it's going to happen, but they need to get a move on, because if I'm being honest with you, they're pissing me off. So that's where we're at.
So you're 31 years of age, Liam. Are you still set on becoming world champion?
Yeah, of course. That's always the goal, isn't it? I wouldn't be involved still if I didn't think that if I thought I didn't still have a lot to offer. I know I've got a lot to offer. Hopefully with the right path now, it'll get me back to a world title. Fingers crossed, win a world title. That would be the dream come true. But the main thing for me is just being involved in big fights, earning plenty of money on a big stage, and securing a good life. That's what matters. And people might see that and think, oh, he's not motivated. He's in it for money. No, like, if anybody tells you they're not interested in the money and they want to win belts and legacy, fuck it. Keep the lot. I don't want any of it. Give me the money. And any fighter who tells you different is telling a bit of lies. Everybody wants to leave a legacy and become world champion. Don't get me wrong. No one more than me. But belts and legacy don't pay bills and buy you a nice house and a nice car. That's what we're in it for. We wouldn't be doing it if there wasn't a lot of money involved.
Yeah, Mick Hodgman said the same thing, Liam, and at the end of the day, it's your profession. Right, I'm going to round off this podcast, this last question. I always ask my guests this very last thing, Liam. I came up with my own kind of mantra when I was younger, and it goes like this: be happy, never content. If I were to ask Liam Williams, the professional boxer, the tough man, what does be happy, never content mean to you?
Be happy with what you got, but always strive for more. Always look to better yourself as well.
Exactly right. All right. Thank you very much, mate. Hopefully one day I'll get to see you in person. We'll do another one in part 2, if you're ever in London, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much, mate, and enjoy your day.
Top man, thanks very much for your time, and it was a pleasure coming on.
Thank you. Cheers, then, Liam. God bless, mate. Bye, mate.
Take care, mate.
Bye.
Yeah.
Guys, before we end this episode, I have to give one more mention to this week's sponsors, iSecure Vehicles. Now, I've already mentioned their products. They are the very best in what they do. They have a wide range of different services and different systems to protect your asset and your vehicle. Head over to their website to find out a bit more. Thanks for watching this week's episode. There's going to be some more exciting guests, some big names, and some really, really juicy episodes.